So are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, just a second. So it's 3, 2, 1. We are live to the audience. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, friends. This is Arpan Kumar Paul, welcoming you to yet another learning session of Life Pharma Coalition, the elixir of knowledge for the pharmaceutical professionals. Well, it's said that our destiny is never determined by the shoes we wear, but by the steps we take. We have all heard about the glass half full or half empty. In fact, our positivity and negativity towards life is interpreted in the way we look at the glass, half full or half empty. But according to me, the glass is completely full, half with finite realities and the other half with infinite possibilities. In our professional life, where we reach is not determined by how we start. Rather, it's what we do in between. We have all heard about the boiling water experiment. The potato gets soft in the same boiling water in which the egg gets hard. But if we put a few coffee beans in that same boiling water, it spreads fragrance in the air and changes the entire environment. Life Pharma Coalition is like that coffee bean which spreads the aroma of positivity, learning, and development, irrespective of the designation or the location. In fact, today we are going to dwell upon a topic which is very relevant and very significant in the pharmaceutical industry, and that is strategic management. In fact, strategic management is culture of appraisal that a business adapts to outdo its competitors. It may sound really simple, but it's a complex process that covers the formulation, the organization's overall vision for the present as well as for the future objectives. The primary purpose of strategic management process is to help the organization achieve a sustainable strategic competition in the market. In fact, when properly conceived and implemented, SMP creates values for the organization by focusing on and assessing on the opportunities as well as the threats, while leveraging its strengths and weaknesses to help it survive, grow, and expand. Generally, the strategic management process has got 5 stages, which are goal setting, analysis, strategy formulation, strategy implementation, and strategy monitoring. To throw more light on this, we have a wonderful speaker. But before that, let me take you through the journey of LPC so far. So welcome to Life Pharma Coalition, which is a global knowledge of networking forum for pharma professionals. In fact, we are really happy, privileged, and overwhelmed to have received the Pharma Ratna Universe 2022 award for the healthcare webinar of the year. Thank you so much, and keep believing in us to spread learning and development. This wouldn't have been possible with the strong executive team of Life Pharma Coalition. In fact, this journey has been possible because of the strong support of our mentors and advisors as well. Our first physical meet was LPC 100 Conclave at Mumbai. The venue was Courtyard by Marriott. And thank you so much for the overwhelming response of the entire pharmaceutical fraternity. Our second physical meet was LPC 125 Conclave at Ahmedabad. The venue was Novotel. And once again, the entire pharmaceutical industry graced the occasion and made this occasion really big and successful with their presence. Our third physical meet was LPC Conclave 3.0 at Navi Mumbai, which was hosted by SIS School of Business Studies. And in fact, this time we not only had the pharma industry, but we also had the budding leaders, the students who were a part of SIES School of the Management Studies. And in fact, their presence gave us a wonderful insight of the future of the pharmaceutical industry, and that their support and their presence was really overwhelming. What next? So LPC 150 conclave is just round the corner, just 2 Sundays away. Hyderabad on the 12th of March 2023. This will be Pharma 4.0 digital transformation across pharmaceutical industry, and the venue is National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, popularly known as NIPER, Hyderabad. In fact, we are going to have a keynote speech, interactive panel discussion, networking, poster presentation, as well as felicitation. For any queries, please don't hesitate to get in touch with Mr. Yashwant, Mr. ICS, or me. This journey of LPC wouldn't have been possible without the support of Imagica Health. In fact, Imagica Health in a nutshell explores the intersection between design, digital health technology, and content marketing for the leading brands, because they have an ex-marketeer-led team of medical writer, graphic designers, teamers, coders who serve the pharma industry for bettering customer engagement, bringing patient centricity, improving control on the sales team, and increasing the return on investment for various marketing campaigns. Thank you so much, Imagica Health. Please continue your wholehearted support in our journey of learning and sharing. Coming to LPC 149, that is academic. And today's topic is strategic management. And to dwell on this topic, to throw more light on this topic, to give us more insights on this topic, we have Ms. Vaishali Vaghela, who is the Senior Brand Manager, Universal NutriScience Limited. And to be of wonderful support for this topic, that is strategic management, I also have with me Mr. Yashwant Mishra, who is the Founder Director, Benzene Ring Learning Solution. So please don't go anywhere, because we are definitely going to have a wonderful interactive session. So please get your questions and your queries ready, and we are all ready to answer them. And for the next part of the session, it's time for me to hand it over to Yashwant sir. Yashwant sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, Arpan. Thank you very much for the introduction. Welcome, viewers. And once again, I reiterate that grand celebration just 1 week away. So we welcome you all on behalf of Life Pharma Coalition, a global knowledge and networking forum for LPC 150 Conclave, Sunday, 12th March at NIPER, Hyderabad. It is a time for celebration and learning and sharing. With that, coming to today's session, strategic management, one of the very important aspect in business for leaders as well as marketing professionals. So when you say strategic management, there are many components like business strategies, corporate strategies, organic and inorganic growth, fundamentals, and business transformation strategies. Today, our speaker, the subject matter expert, Vaishali Vaghela ma'am, is going to share one of the components of strategic management. Ma'am, first of all, thank you very much for accepting our invite and being a part of LPC Life Pharma Coalition. Ma'am is having more than 10 years of experience in pharmaceuticals. Currently, she is senior brand manager in Universal Medicare and taking care of bone and joint portfolio. Apart from bone and joint, she has worked in therapies like cardio, diabetes, derma, oncology, gastroenterology, antibiotic, and antifungal. And she has also launched a division successfully and many brands to make it a mega brand. So we are really fortunate to have Ms. Vaishali Vaghela ma'am in today's forum. Ma'am, thank you very much once again, and over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Arpan and Yashwant-ji. So it's, I'm glad to take this opportunity, because that is where, I can always talk about my opinions and views and whatever the journey which I have experienced with the pharma industry. So good morning to everyone. To start with, Vaishali Vaghela, as Yashwant Mishra ji has already mentioned, and with this experience, whatever I have. So I'm just trying to throw a few lights on a topic, which is a strategic management, because this is not only a strategic management, which looks to be a broader term, but when we talk about a strategic management, it's a bigger slice, and which you slice it down into a pieces. So right now, to talk about strategic management, whatever the journeys I have experienced, I have dealt with a lot of therapies, as Yashwantji has mentioned, and with the lot of organizations, be it MNCs or maybe Indian pharma, as well as the startups. So what I have seen all across is the one thing, which is the strategy is the pillar for any organizations to run. So maybe a bigger organizations to a smaller organizations, or maybe a startups. So wherever you go, but you need to have some framework placed, and based on that, you need to be analyzing and you need to be formulating the frameworks and then the strategy. So to start with, I will start with my presentation on strategic management to throw some light onto it. So yeah, when I talk about the strategic management and a framework, you will have a question in mind like, okay, what do you know? Because everyone knows, I mean, small startup person, or maybe a small businessman, or maybe a stall person, he also goes with some kind of a strategy in his mind. Like, okay, I need to be selling so many cups of a tea today. So that's how, he also goes with some kind of a mindset. So the most important thing is the mindset when it comes to strategic management. So, to go ahead, I mean, I have come across this quote, which is the real heart of the strategy is the mind of the strategist, which is by Max McKeown. So this is the book, which is the strategic book, which always talks about the practical mindset. And it talks about like, okay, you do formulate a kind of a strategy, but that has a mind behind it, and it is the mind of the strategist mind. And that, because without which I think so the strategy cannot be implemented and formulated. So be it an example which we take it in a particular organizations, from a leader to a middle managers to a market. So what are we all doing in a sync? So be it, I mean, leader taking a decision in terms of formulating some strategy, like, okay, I need to be, going ahead with 268 crore of building my organization to a 268 crore. So what do we do in terms of a 268 crore? So always we'll have a business driven based and BU based driven based. So in which like we'll have a particular brand. So, okay, we always go about like, these are the brands and we are formulating a strategy. And then the middle managers always try to drive the strategy in formulating and in making a framework. And then the implementation part is done by the field force. So that's how the heart lies in the strategy. So, if I talk about the heart lies in the strategy, though, how do we actually kind of generate a revenue, and how do we kind of go ahead? So to support the companies in getting or improving a brand recognition, boosting a revenue, and achieving a long-term business goals. So these are the pillars for the managing any kind of a strategy and any kind of a business to run. Without which I think so we're failing to do the failing to achieve our goals. Another thing is the managing a brand can include a multitude of aspects, from centralizing a digital assets to upholding a brand consistency across a various touch points. So without the core idea of a brand, I mean, if I talk about a particularly example of I have dealt with the gastrointestinal, so wherein the Pantene was the brand which was used for a acidity and hyperacidity. So wherein the jahan acidity wahan Pantene. So that was very core message. But if you're not touching it to a customer, and if you're not providing the right message with multitudinal aspects, like if you are touching with the digital assets, or maybe consistently you are providing some kind of a touch points for a customer and making and generating a revenue out of it, there are a lot of aspects which comes into a play, which is a distribution, financial aspects, the manufacturing aspects, and also patented ingredients. Like if you do have a patented ingredients, and how do you kind of differentiate in terms of a competition in the market? So that's all about the strategic management. But in today's trend, what are we doing? Like if I see a pharma market right now, the current situations is the MNCs, Indian and the generics also have come into pictures. So MNCs, what they have done, like right now, the strategic angle, if we see, they have tried to convert into a distribution strategy. So mainly they are focusing mainly on a distribution strategy. So they are playing with the more of a distribution based strategies, and they are not going forward more of a product centric, which they used to be. So why this is happening, and why the change has become a dynamism, has become a very constant in today's time. So a decade ago, when you see, there were a upper class, middle class, and a below poverty class. So how they used to be categorizing, I mean how the population used to be categorizing. Below the poverty also always used to be going for the generics, right? And middle class always used to be going for, okay, I will go for a branded medicines. But now, because of this digitalization and the technology has come into a picture, so always the the patients, like if me, I'm there, or maybe you anyone is there, and you're going and you will talk to a doctor, you will immediately Google it, like, okay, I don't want to go for this kind of a medicine because there are a lot of alternatives are available. So you will always opt for a different alternatives. So maybe it's not a MNC based, but it is an Indian branded, which is also giving you a more of a quality based and efficacious based product. So in this, what happens, like nothing but the MNCs have loosened up. But yeah, MNCs have forwarded their MNCs have changed their approach towards a strategy, and they have become a distribution based, and in this population based, now this middle class have also turned out to be a Indian branded generics, and the below poverty line has moved to a generic base. So because of which the MNC's proposition has come into a play wherein they need to be they need to be approaching a different strategic model. So what model they need to be approaching, right? So here is the question, and here's the food for a thought, that who are the first movers for a future change in next 10 years in the pharma industry? So like if we talk about a lot of strategies available, a lot of pharma companies available, a lot of them are opting for a different models in today's time. They are opting for the dynamism, because now it's not so constant that, okay, you have formulated one strategy and that one strategy can be adopted for the entire year. So how are you going to cope up with all of this? So that's where the important aspects, when you want to be, when you want to be staying into the environment, when you want to be achieving your goal and your vision, how do you do that? So what are the main frameworks and what are the main aspects of it? You will always look for the vision and the objectives. So vision can be a long-term, vision can be your short-term. Maybe you want to become a leader in the market. Maybe you just want to be, achieving your top 10 market share. Maybe you want to become a top 5 leader in the market. So this vision can be a broad term in terms of expansion based, in terms of a growth related based. And then you define your objectives. So if it is depend on your goal, suppose I'm taking an example that, okay, I want my brand to be in the top 5. So what would be my objective? So objective will be always will be in the measurable terms in terms of a market share, in terms of a competition base, in terms of what prescription for doctor would be driven, in terms of how much resources you are putting into a market. So that will be your objectified base. Then you'll be setting some kind of a goal, right? Goal, how you'll be setting a goal can be, okay, I if I want to be in the top 5, then what goal I am setting for my brand to be driven from X to the Y. So that kind of a goal setting needs to be done in the first place. And next is the environmental scanning and analysis. So this is very, very important, like be it whichever company or whichever firm wants to be, going ahead with the strategy or making a brand plan or formulating a strategy for the next year. This becomes important, like at what stage you are. Suppose like, I'm taking a mid-firm organization's example. So if I'm into a market wherein I'm floating in a top 10, I have a lot of competition. I'm into a Me Too market. So all these aspects comes into environmental scanning. It's not only a competition is the one thing, but where your brand is also placed. Suppose your brand is placed in the top 5, top 25, or maybe you are not present in your top 50. Then how do you kind of, make your brand visible in the market? So you will put a more of a marketing expenses. You will not put a more of a marketing expenses. How do you make your brand profitable? What would be your market share you would be capturing, and how do you analyze your competition also, how they are moving in terms of their activations, in terms of their campaigns, in terms of their strategies. So those all factors which comes into a play for the environmental scanning. And then the one more important aspect is nothing but the customers. Without the customers, you not knowing customers, nothing will happen and nothing will move a bit. So customer is the pillar of your strategy. So like if you're focusing some customers wherein, you have a KOL based customers, KBL based customers, or maybe a customers which you are a mass based customers. So you need to have that pillars segregated in respective to your organization, respective to your portfolios, and respective to your brand, wherein you will be able to categorize, okay, my portfolio looks likes to be okay in the KOL based driven, with the maximum businesses coming from the KOL based business, and then the KBL is my one of the pillar, and then my mass pillar which goes for the customer based strategies. So these are the very important aspects, and how the customers are behaving, like what they are expecting. It's not just you categorizing it. Vis-a-vis, you're looking into a market wherein the how the customer is behaving and what are the needs of the customer, and how do you kind of actually kind of fill this gap between your internal environment and also outside the environment, how the customer wants to be behaving and how what he is expecting. After that, you will be, formulating a strategy. So how do you formulate a strategy? Based on all your vision, objectives, goals, you will be going for the measurable actions and the formulating a strategy, which can be a long-term based and the tactical based plans. So in the long-term based plans, you will be formulating on the basis of, I need to be acquiring a new customers, because my brand right now at the saturation phase, or maybe at the growth phase, and I need to be actually amplifying that. So that can be the one of the strategy wherein you will be formulating on the basis of the acquisition. You can always expand your indication, expand your customer base, expand your market with the new launch. Innovation can be one of the best thing to formulate a strategy for your portfolios. And then the important thing comes, like if you have formulated strategy but without implementation and execution at the right time and at the right place, this will be a bigger failure. So for this business strategies, these are the major pillars which you need to be looking into a process, like when you are formulating it. So we spoke about like how this pharma industry needs to move now for the next 10 years. So these are the basic things which we look into. And then on the basis of that, we will go for the framework model. So suppose if I'm talking about the framework models, see, if you're formulating strategy, that doesn't mean only objective goals and the strategies will come into picture, but you need to analyze it, right? I mean, if I'm in the MNCs, then I have a lot of businesses developed, lot of organization capability system processes are developed. If I am into a Indian pharma, then okay, the bit of the challenges will remain, and the startup needs to look for the growth strategy. But before that, when you're present, how do you kind of go for which type of a frameworks and which type of a framework you will analyze it, and on that basis you will opt for some kind of a strategy. So if I just want to give you a basic example, then in the airport, like because we do travel a lot of times, and many of the times we see like, okay, there are a lot of queues, and Delhi airport would be a busiest airport ever I have seen. Okay, so in that, like, okay, they might be opting for a strategy like, okay, I have to be minimizing this waiting time. So they might be opting for such kind of a strategy wherein, okay, so many distributions or maybe a placement would be there, or maybe how we need to be connecting multiple routes. Other than that, they can also opt for that, okay, there are shops available in the airports, and how much time how much time they'll be using to shop it. So that those are the models. How this efficiency will come into picture? On the basis of, you will analyze it on the basis of the frameworks. Okay, airport has a strategy based planning, and they'll be going for a balanced scorecard, and they'll look for that framework, and then they'll strategize on the basis of the formulating and maybe implementing it. So in which, like in the same manner, when we look at the pharma, so we have a lot of models, but what models can be used and how do we kind of predict a future? So I will just throw a few lights on this framework model. So one is the SWOT analysis. This is very important. This is a very basic process which everyone follows for the each and every brand, as well as for the portfolios. So which is like you identifying a strength, you identifying the weaknesses, opportunities, and the threats. So strength, like if I'm taking an example of my current organization, if I say that, okay, my strength is I'm a nutraceutical business with I have a lot of brands which is having a lot of potential and which are the patented ingredients. But what are the weaknesses? So maybe those right formulations needs to be analyzed. Opportunities would be a lot of opportunities in terms of innovations. Threat would be a new entrants coming into a picture. So such kind of a SWOT analysis gives me a objectified goal for my next year's plan and next year's how I want to be developing my brand. So this needs to be, this is the one which is for the framework can be used. The next model is the OKR. What is the OKR? Is nothing but the objective and the key results. So when I talk about the objectives in the key results, so there's a basic process wherein you are a very small firm and you have a lot of objectives on a daily basis which needs to be met. So you will have a 1, 2, 3 objectives placed, and daily basis you will see that, okay, I have achieved this key results, and on those basis you will be able to identify, okay, this model is working for my organization and formulating a strategy. Next is very important. I mean, this I think everyone does. This is the PESTEL model that I will also give you an in-depth information about this PESTEL model, how it works. It's a political environment, economical environment, socio-cultural and a technological environment. Political environment in terms of regulations and the laws, economical, how you're priced, socio-cultural in terms of how the patient-centric approaches, how the HCPs are behaving in current environment, and how this technology is imbibed, and how the technology is integrated in terms of formulating it. Now the next which comes is the balanced scorecard. So balanced scorecard is nothing but, how do you kind of measure your actions versus your goals which you have taken, and how do you balance it on a day-to-day routine basis. So this can be worked for a mid-size and the brand which needs to have a lot of work needs to be done behind those brands. So that can be worked out in terms of this kind of a frameworks can be worked out. Now next is the issue-based strategic planning. So what is the issue-based strategic planning? See, we always go for some kind of objectives. Like we have set some kind of objectives, and on that basis we will be formulating strategy. This is something different. You will go for looking for the problems. You will not go for looking for some kind of objectives or goals or a setting or something futuristic approach. Here you will see that, okay, my current problem is my system. My current problem is my processes. My current problem is I need to be, identifying where I need to be going in the future. My next 10 years plan would be what? My next 5 years plan would be what? So there you identify your problem, and on that problem identification, you will be filling your gap with the innovations or maybe an expansion or maybe a new products, or maybe how do you kind of encash with your current customer base. So that can be filled with, issue-based strategic planning. The next is the strategy, which is the BCG matrix. So strategic map is the BCG matrix. This is very useful for the firm which has a lot of brands in place, which is Boston Consultancy Group, wherein high growth market share and high potential. So like, okay, I will take you through this one, which is very important for anyone to know, like wherein they are present with their presence is with a lot of brands. Now next is the Porter's 5 forces. Porter's five forces is nothing but, how is the competition looks like, and how is the competition's threat which is there for you. The next is the how is the bargaining power of a supplier. So manufacturer is putting a pressure to reduce the cost. That can be the one thing. Next can be the one thing is, the customers is putting a lot of a pressure to reduce your cost for the brand. Another can be a new entrant which has come into a picture. So these are the five forces which comes into a picture for the Porter's fives to identify your brand for making a pricing based strategies, or for making a distribution based strategies. So those are the Porter's five forces which can help you boil down to your strategic plan. Next is the gap planning. Gap planning is, it is in the broad term. How do you put your vision into place? Then how do you measure those visions as against your objectives, as against your measures, and as against your action? So suppose you took a example. You took that brand's objective needs to be a market share. You will have to be capturing a 10%, vis-a-vis you were in the last year was somewhere around 8%. But you devised a lot of strategies and you devised a lot of objectives in place, but you couldn't meet it. But why? So what are the reasons for that gap? So how do you kind of feel those reasons with? So maybe one aspects can be looked into. Okay, your prescription per doctor has not increased. You have not developed the kind of prescribers. I think your activation might have not given you traction. So those are the gaps which gap planning frameworks can help you out to frame a strategy. So I think so, moreover, these are the models which are used by small or big firms. And I will take you to how this Boston Consultancy Group metrics actually kind of help you out. That if we say that the market share is the high and the growth market is also, so wherein stars comes into picture, like, okay, my market share is very high, my market growth rate is very high. So what you will do if you are in that place, you will always invest your money and you will grow that business. Suppose if you are at a high market share with the low growth rate, which is a cash cows basically, then the cash cows becomes you need to be milking it, and you need to be milking it, and you need to be using those money to reinvest. So that can be the one approach can be used. Then for the low market share versus a low growth rate, wherein the dogs. So such kind of a places wherein you need to be divesting your business, or maybe you need to be innovating the business. So this kind of a strategies can come into a place. Again, when the low market share is there, but high market growth rate is there. So that is the question marks which comes into a picture, like what you need to be doing it. So there the divestment is the one strategy, or maybe you need to be having, okay, I will invest, but I will invest with my minimum resources and minimum investments. So this can be useful in identifying where you are currently and how do you kind of fill this gap with your objectives and the strategies. So next I was talking about this pestle model. How this pestle model is very, very useful, because the political environment right now, when you see, there are a lot of government regulations that dictates how your industry can correspond with the customer. So currently, the for pharma industry now, MCI guidelines have become very stricter. Per doctor, you need to be, utilizing only spending 20,000 rupees, which includes all your inputs, which includes all your samples, which includes all your activities. And beyond which, if you are doing anything which comes into play, like the conference, participation, sponsorship, those everything has become a taxable. So how do you kind of, regulate this thing, and how do you kind of make it viable for your brand to grow in the next future? So that can be a one thought which you need to be putting it across by using this kind of a framework. The next is the economic. Are the customers in your industry watching their wallets closely? Because why economic? Because here, like a lot of factors come into picture. Not only the price for the brand, but how do you utilizing your money? Like how much your expenditure versus sales ratio is. Like how much you are spending onto a brand, and how do you make that brand is a profitable with minimum investments. So that can be a one thing which can be looked into closely, because in today's competitive environment, the strategy is not the constant, it is a dynamic. Because one thing is like, if you have made some kind of a strategy, and if you're following that strategy, it doesn't continue for a longer time, because you need to be reviewing it. In some cases, yes, in some cases it might extend for a year, and it might, the field force can implement it properly. But yeah, in some cases might be like you need to be reviewing in the 6 months, and you need to be making changes as per your environment. Now the social, when it comes to social, do customers expect an increasingly fast response? So if I want to take example, in my past journeys, I have actually, I launched a multiple products. So out of that one product, when I myself have gone and I myself have spoke with the customers, they always talk about like, okay, I have used it for 15 days, but it has not given me a response. But in our pharma industry, we need to be understanding, like, nothing is so quick. I mean, any medicines you take, I mean, if it is a acute, if it is a chronic, anywhere, any segments which you are opting for, you need to be taking a complete therapy. So there is a one thing which is missing is a complete therapy regimen. So therapy needs to be understood properly, and then the dosage needs to be understood properly, and right dose at the right time needs to be given for a right period of a time. So that needs to be, taken into picture. Technologically, yeah. When I talk about technologically, are you operating with the outdated systems? So yes, when you see a technology has given so much of a revolutionizing power in today's time. If you see a decade ago, you were not used to so much of apps, so much of, like, the recent example only, you use a lot of a Google Pay, and you don't have a cash in your pocket. But a decade ago, if you see, like, you were having the cash in your pocket. It was not the thing that you always used to see, look for a cash. Right now, if I go, and I will always look for a cash in my pocket, and I don't have it, because I am so used to my technology nowadays. In the same manner, it has also, it has impacted the pharma as well as the healthcare industry in a big way. But some pharmas have already adopted this thing, but some pharmas are still struggling to adapt it, and still they are trying to integrate it. So this is important aspects wherein, technology needs to be integrated in a content marketing, in SEO, in social media marketing, because this will only give us this will only impact our business in going forward for our growth strategy to be formulated. Now, when I see environmental competitive analysis, this needs to be an ongoing and an everyday basis, because the competitive analysis is important. Because when you see your brand moving, and your brand is getting a traction in a particular month, but the next month when you see that brand will not give you a traction, why? If you're not actually kind of analyzing the competition, if the new entrant has come, or maybe a new brand has captured a market share, maybe that the brand has done something differently in the market, which differentiate in terms of a cost, in terms of a product differentiation, in terms of a communication, in terms of a sampling. So what this difference is coming from, and how do you kind of analyze this environment? It's not only restricted to a market per se, but yeah, in terms of a behavior of the customers, in terms of how do you kind of analyze it, and how do you kind of put it. So that's the important thing. And then when it comes to a legal, so if you want to be opting for an innovation, if you're coming up with a research molecules, how are we, maintaining the quality, as well as how are we putting across a patented molecule into a market? So that's the important aspects. The pestle model is the one of the thing which I think all the firms might be applying in their day-to-day practices to analyze and formulate a strategy. So this is the framework. Now, if I say, like, in the future, we need to be opting for such kind of a frameworks, models, and then how do we carve out a strategy? So what do we do in terms of, putting across, and how do we cope up this kind of a changes which is coming into picture? So yeah, when I talk about, yeah, these are the frameworks. On that basis, you might have come down to a pricing strategy. Suppose you following, like, my brands, they are very high priced, and I want to be analyzing those high priced products. Then you will be following other three strategies which are there of a skimming pricing. Skimming pricing is nothing but what? Skimming pricing is you will price your product at so high that you will be different from the market, and you will be you'll define your own pool of a market. And penetration is nothing but you will be priced at very low pricing you will keep, and you will differentiate your pricing as compared to others in the market, saying that I'm priced at very low, and I'm kind of customizing or maybe spreading my wings for covering more and more customers. And then it comes to a predatory. Predatory is you are trying to balance your pricing, which is very low pricing, and which is coming from which is being there, I mean, long term, and you are there in that competition, you're trying to balancing it out. So, the strategic pillars become important. Why? In formulating today's time, if you see the pricing have come into picture, like if you might be priced so high, how these customers are actually kind of behaving it. Maybe they are taking it. So example, and I'll take one of the example is like 4 capsules, which we are selling with the rate of a 750. Is there a effectiveness is there? How do you kind of differentiate? How do you kind of, if you're pricing so high, so do you have that unique proposition placed? How do you kind of put it like, okay, it is a patented ingredient, but is this giving a good effect? Efficacy is good. Quality maintenance, is there a cure? The patients are getting cured. So these are the questions which comes into a play when you need to be formulating it. Now, the next pillar is this distribution strategy. So distribution strategy, but why important in today's time? Today's time, when the integration of a technology is become a important aspects, there people have opted for the offline stakeholder. The MNCs, a great example. They've opted for the offline stakeholders. There, the distributor becomes a very, very major stakeholders for driving a brand. And along with the marketing managers and along with the marketing team, but yeah, distribution becomes a play wherein they might be in selective investment, they might be opting for a selective strategy, they might be opting for an investment strategy. So there also it comes into play, like in what framework which you are using and where which strategy you are opting for. The another thing is a resource management. What do you mean by resource management? Because this is very, very important when it comes to a strategic pillar, right? Because your company is having a sales and marketing automation. Right now, the lot of companies are going for the optimization of the resources in a company. If you saw a different industry also, why not? We always restrict ourselves. I know my audience is also pharma based, but why we always restrict to a pharma based? Why don't we just open our mind, and why don't we see like, okay, all across like different industries, how they are behaving, what type of a strategies they might be following, and why not to, in this dynamism and in this world of VUCA world, wherein why are we not opting for different mindset? This VUCA world is all of a volatility, complexity, vulnerability, right? How and ambiguity. So why are we not opting for it? So okay, let me just take an example that okay, technology based industry. So like Meta, Facebook, Google. So they have laid off many people. Even if you see our pharma MNC base, they have laid off many people, even in the banking sectors, if you see. So these are all becoming a challenge in today's time in, managing the resources in a company, and how this resources is managed so that they are giving a profitable business. And that becomes important, because like if you're, one thing is there are multiple aspects to look into it. If you are in a growth strategy mode, wherein you are looking for the expansion, then you'll expand with a lot of resources. But wherein the MNCs, if you look for, there your business is already developed and you are going for a different model, there you will be optimizing your resources. And this needs to be having having said this needs to be automated in a manner. And so now next comes into a picture is the competitive environment. So as I mentioned earlier also, the new entrants, innovation-based products, these are the one thing when you analyze the competitions. So we saw that the Porter's 5 forces frame model. So on that basis, we will be able to, kind of boil down to a competitive strategy. Now, profitability-based strategy is very, very important model, because I think so you might, you all people might have already seen Shark Tank, and a lot of them might be a fan of it. So when we see what they do, talk about the equity, brand share, valuation. So in that manner, now this has become a core idea for any leadership also. I mean, any leaders who look into a business, or maybe who needs to be driving a business or a portfolio, they will always see how much my brand is my profitable, what is the GC of my product, how much EBITDA I'm delivering. Is this in the range of a 15 to 20%, or how am I moving with my profitable brand? Am I, managing my A&P spends? Am I managing my expense ratio, and my sales turnovers are the profit turnover is there for that particular brand or not? So this kind of a strategy is very, very important to look into when we are looking for the, next 10 years of our time. The expansion is obviously important. Like if you are in a growth phase, and if you are not, kind of restricting yourself with the current environment, then new division launch, new product launch, that can be your growth arena for the next 10 years to come into play. Growth strategy on a PLC. So product life cycle, obviously, like the anytime you launch a new product, you always see a introductory phase. Then you go for, okay, now my brand is I have launched my brand, how this brand is actually kind of a growing, and how it is actually kind of a getting matured, and then it is in the decline phase. What kind of a strategy I'll be playing on to this? Like, okay, if it is on to a introductory phase, I need to be launching and I need to be spending very high. But when it comes to a matured phase, or maybe a growth phase, I have to be minimizing my spend on the basis of my customers, on the basis of the acceptance of the products. So that kind of strategies can be implemented. Now the blue ocean strategies. Now see, this is actually, being used by many pharma companies now, be it a Sun Pharma company, be it a, Sun Pharma company had adopted this model of aggressive marketing. They have a large customer base, and this strategy is being followed by a lot of pharma companies in going ahead. So this becomes a blue ocean strategy, wherein you kind of your organization is kind of making a strategy for yourself, in kind of expanding it, in kind of innovating it in a different way. You're not following a footpath of the others. Now, important aspect is which I spoke about, AI and a digital strategy. Search engine optimization, social media, email marketing, that plays a very important role in today's time. Like wherever you see, everyone has the mobile phones and everyone has the accessibility. So this has to come into a play in all the aspects of strategies wherever we are planning and whatever we are doing. So with this, I would want to be, just giving you a bit of this Harvard Institute, which has actually, given us a good example of a blue ocean strategy, which is most importantly is followed by a lot of pharma companies right now in current state. So I would like to play this video.
In 1984, Guy Laliberté co-founded Cirque du Soleil. Soon, Cirque was bringing in revenues that incumbents like Ringling Brothers had taken more than a century to attain, even though the circus business was in long-term decline. How did Cirque thrive in such a dismal environment? The answer can be found in the theory that the business universe consists of two kinds of markets, red oceans and blue oceans, a concept pioneered by INSEAD professors W. Chan Kim and René Beauborn. Red oceans represent existing industries and markets, where industry boundaries and the rules of competition are well defined. Companies strive to outperform rivals and grab a bigger share of existing demand. As the space gets crowded, fierce competition turns the water bloody. Competitive or market competing strategy is about how to occupy red oceans. By contrast, blue ocean or market creating strategy is about how to create and capture unknown markets where demand is created rather than fought over. In some cases, this spawns entirely new industries. But most blue oceans emerge when a company alters the boundaries of an existing industry, as when Cirque du Soleil blurred the line between circus and theatre. Cirque made the acts more artistic and sophisticated, attracting a whole new group of customers, adults who are prepared to pay premium ticket prices as they would for the theatre or the opera. Cirque also eliminated several elements of the traditional circus like costly animal acts and star performers. Cirque invented a new and profitable market space without making the typical trade-off between value and cost. Cirque pursued both differentiation and low cost in what Kim and Moborn call value innovation. The simultaneous pursuit of value and cost is the logic of Blue Ocean strategy. Based on their study of more than 30 industries, companies that can create blue oceans usually reap the benefits for 10 to 15 years because they are hard for rivals to copy. To realize blue ocean potential like Cirque did, companies should chart a strategic course past traditional industry boundaries to create new market space.
So yeah, I mean, if you might have seen it, this was the best example which the Harvard review has actually kind of showed us. Maybe when you see a red ocean strategy and a blue ocean strategy, red ocean strategies, a lot of competitions are there, and a lot of them have already done a lot of things, and the Me Too things are available. So where what happens, your growth becomes very limited. You have a lesser chances of growing, lesser chances of making a profitable brand, lesser chances of your organizations to be growing in that path. What happens in a blue ocean strategy? You actually opt for a newer kind of approach towards you have a brand, similar brands. I mean, I'm not saying that the brands are different, but you will always opt for a different aggressive marketing strategy, or maybe a pull strategy in drawing some different differentiation in communications and service based marketing, or maybe in terms of digitally, how do you engage your customers in terms of activations, or maybe a campaigns, or how do you engage it? So that kind of a strategy, which actually is important in today's time. Like if we see this next 10 years of a pharma industry to be, we need to be growing, and how much the potential is available, and how do we kind of cater into, then the blue ocean strategy comes into place. And out of that video, we saw that they tried to differentiate the circus and the theater. So that becomes, blue ocean for the theater, because they have created their own market. So this blue ocean is actually kind of creating your new market into place. So that's where I think so we all need to be, getting into a niche of this blue ocean strategy for the coming time. And now when I say lot of things about, our growth strategies, the models and the pillars, what do we actually kind of do with because these risk also plays a lot of play. Risk is the major thing which comes into play whenever the organization thinks of a profitable brand, because there are a lot of functions which we need to be looking into, not only our distribution, the finance, the sales, the marketing, then the supply chain, new products. So all that comes into play. How do you kind of actually boils down to what aspects we look into? So when we look into a new markets and existing markets, then this model becomes a very important, like how much in existing market and existing product, how much penetrations we need to be doing as a market leader, or maybe if you want to be opting for a market leader position. Then when we talk about a new markets, but the existing products is existing and new markets have come into play, how do you develop your market? What will you put in from your organization in terms of a market, in terms of a services? What do you kind of differentiate with? Then it comes with the existing market and existing products, new markets with the new products. Then product development happens, and new markets with the higher risk, wherein you are diversifying your businesses. So that can be the one of the steps which can be followed. So these are actually a mandate which one can look into if you want to be going for the diversification, brand positioning, attributes, values. How do you kind of select your brand? Because the attributes becomes the very, very important. Whichever brand you look into right now in the market, you will always see how this brand looks like, what attributes that brand is giving, how this brand is positioned, from which manufacturer it is, how you are kind of extending your portfolio. Like if you have right now the two brands which are there, and how are you giving a line extension to a brand, and how are you capitalizing onto your brand equity? Correct. Now, this is very important. If we are all saying a framework, the 10 years we want to be going, then we'll opt for a framework and a strategic pillar. But do you think, we are into a market wherein, and we are into a times wherein traditional versus modern marketing? I see, we all, I am also a marketer, and I also feel like, okay, we more stick on to a traditional marketing. What do you mean by traditional marketing? Is nothing but, company strategic centric, then tactical and a campaign driven, acquisition only based, opinion based on annual planning. We do all of these things. In the last 10 years, we were just doing all of these things, but we never focused on to a modern marketing, what growth marketing. Like, okay, we look into a upselling model, we look into a acquisition retention. How do we kind of make the evidence based marketing? How do we kind of go for the consumer centric? How do we kind of just engage with our customers? And how do we kind of make the agile marketing operations? So this will become a play for the next 10 years. As per my thoughts and suggestions, I feel that, okay, if we opt for this dynamism as a marketer, and if we opt for such kind of a strategies, and if we also become, a challenge game changer for the next 10 years to come in, then I think so we'll be in the right place and we'll be in the blue oceans. Correct? So now, if I talk about everything, then what do we do? Are we prepared? Are we prepared for the strategic change in the future? How do we kind of prepare ourselves? So when I see, it needs to be a mission driven for any pharma company to be in. Bigger vision needs to be there, and the focused approach needs to be there. Because when I see the potential of the pharma industry, currently we are $50 billion pharma industry in today's time. But in the next 10 years, when I see by 2030, we want to be aiming for $130 billion. It will not come so easily, because in the last 10 years, if you go back and reflect and you see your changes, we have not been, optimized. We have not been optimized it, right? So this has to be more of a futuristic approach we want to be looking into. Then we need to be a profitable brand, because that is a very important role which plays into a picture which I spoke about: the pricing, top line driven, and EBITDA delivery for a brand. Then when it comes to a tech driven, we all needs to be, accepting of AI in our life, because if you type in a Google like AI for a presentation, then I think so, the presentation also can be delivered. So such faster pace we are moving with the technology. And why can't we just implement this in our pharma? Wearable tech integrations, data management, and real world data. So we all are, I think so pharma, we all get into a lot of data in day-to-day basis. But this real-time data evidence can be gathered for our brands with the AI as well. So that can be looked into picture, that a lot of avenues are there technically, which are also, which needs to be optimized, which needs to be looked into in going forward. Then we need to be having an envisioned that, we need to have a futuristic vision in terms of innovation base, in terms of optimized and improved version, because innovation is a disruption, that also you might have heard. But if you are not opting for an innovation, then you are stuck at the one place with the one same set of environment, and you're not trying to grow. See, efforts always matters into a life. So that right effort at the right time, if you're putting it, then I think so that gives us a result. And smart goal. We all needs to be a smart marketer as a dynamism and the flexible and adaptable, because we have seen in our COVID era also, we opted for the digital based strategies. We opted for email marketing, content marketing. But then suddenly when we are back to normal routines, still we find there's a huge scope for opting for the technology integration. So this is the stance which we want to be taking for a better marketers. So I think, are we all ready, from a medical rep to a senior manager to a company owner, for this kind of a strategic change? This is my thought for everyone in today's time. because this was not just a strategic framework or a strategic pillar, or maybe a, blue ocean strategy to be how we become a, a kind of a smart marketer and what we need to be having. But yeah, this can implement to all of them, because the company owner also thinks about the EBITDA, profit, business driven strategies. And we as a senior manager always look for, formulating a good strategy to achieve those kind of a growth. And then the strategic final implementations and execution is done by a medical rep. So this correlates to all of them, are all colleagues over there. So this is my question to all of them, like, are we ready for this strategic change and how? So thank you so much. This was lovely audience. I think so. I've not been interacting with them, but yeah, this is what I feel. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vaishali. That was really a very insightful presentation, and in fact, a very compact presentation, because you took a deep dive into most of the aspects which are sometimes overlooked. So just to give a small synopsis of your wonderful presentation, you talked about strategic brand management. First is to support in getting brand recognition, then boosting revenue and achieving long-term business goals. And then managing a brand can include a multitude of aspects, from centralizing digital assets to upholding brand consistency. Well, you also talked about business strategy and frameworks, where there were around 6 parameters. The first is implementation and execution. The second is strategy formulation. The third is all about the customer. The fourth is vision and objectives. The fifth is goal setting. And the last is environmental scanning and analysis. You have also taken a dive into strategies framework model, where you discussed at length on the SWOT analysis, that is strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. You also talked on PESTEL, that is political, economic, social, technological, and the last two, that is environmental as well as legal. It started with PEST, and then PEST became PESTEL. Well, the OKR objectives, that is objectives and key results, and balance scorecard, issue-based strategic planning, the strategy mapping, that is the Boston Consultation Group BCG matrix, where basically you discussed at length on the 4 major parameters, that is the dogs, the cash cows, then of course the stars and the question mark. The most important part about dogs are that they have got a low market growth and a low market share. In case of a cash cow, it is low market growth, but they have got a high market share. The best are the stars, because they have both a high market share as well as a high market growth. But the question mark stays on the high market growth, but a very low market share. There you decide which way you need to move. Of course, there was the Porter's 5-force model and the gap planning. Generally, the gaps that we see are the evidence gap, the knowledge gap, then the practical knowledge conflict gap. There is theoretical gap, and there is also the empirical gap. So that was a very good analysis that you did. There were strategic pillars also, like the pricing strategy, where you made a mention of 3 pricing. The skimming price, generally it is done when you are the first entry into the market. You generally seem to skim the milk. You take the topmost layer of the market by putting a very premium price, a very high price on your product, because it all goes into research and development of the product that you have put in. The second is the penetration price, where you are one of the last to enter into the market. And there you need to play with the price. You have to give the best price or the lowest price in order to capture some market share. But the third is very important, that is predatory pricing. That means you want to end the competition in the market. Just you want to eat up the brand. So you put your price at such a level that other brands have to leave the market, because they will not be able to sustain at this price. So that is wonderful analysis from your end. Next is the distribution strategy, the resource management, the competitive environment, the profitability based strategy, expansion, growth strategy on PLC, that is the product life cycle, the blue ocean strategy. That was really good, because where you have to enter into new markets in order to get revenues, in order to expand your brand, that is very important. And the pull strategy, where you need to pull customers to the business instead of pushing the customers to your business. So that is all about the full strategy. And of course, the AI and digital strategy, search engine optimization is very important. You also discussed on the ANSOF's matrix, the market penetration, the product development, the market development, and of course, the diversification. Towards the end of your presentation, you also took a leap into traditional marketing versus modern or growth marketing. Traditional marketing is basically concentrated on company-centric, or which is a very tactical part, whereas the modern or the growth marketing is on the product-centric or more strategic. And finally, you ended up towards strategic change in future, which is mission-driven. Then, of course, tech-driven. It needs to have profitable brands. It has to be have envisioned, having a vision in the future. And most important, the SMART goals, specific, measurable, definitely, and result-oriented, time-bound, or achievable. All these things need to be there within a SMART goal. So that is excellent, excellent presentation from you, Vaishali. I think our audience, who comprises of top leaders, middle-level leaders, students, budding pharma professionals, I think they have gained a lot of insights from your presentation. They have taken several lessons. In fact, I was pretty busy writing down running notes as you were presenting, and I think I gained a lot of insight reading and as well as writing this, because when we read it only once, but when we write, there is twice or thrice, 3 times that we basically go into it. So that makes us it easy to recall and remember. So thank you so much, Vaishali. Now it is over to Yashwant sir, if he has got some questions from Facebook and YouTube. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Arpan. Thank you very much, Vaishali. It was indeed a comprehensive presentation covering all the aspects. That is the best part, covering all the aspects of brand management, and a lot of new learning for us, both of us also. That is the gain we get, as I mentioned yesterday also. When we moderate the session, the net gain is we learn a lot of things from different speakers, and today also we learned a lot. Just one point, Arpan missed about your video. Very interesting video you showed on differentiation of red ocean and blue ocean strategy. It was wonderful. Thank you very much once again. It was really a good and learning session. Just to mention, there are a lot of appreciations and questions coming from Facebook and YouTube. Before going ahead on the question and answer, I would like to mention those actively participating and sharing their learnings. Mr. Janardhan Moria, thank you very much, Janardhan, for your appreciation. Madhuri Joshi, thank you very much. Nasruddin Chisti, our regular viewer. Nasruddin, thank you very much for watching and appreciating. Isis Verma, sir, thank you very much. Rajendra Lakhotia also have appreciated the session. Shivraj Gowda, he is a mentor in LPC. Thank you very much, Shivraj, for appreciation. Arumugam Arasan, thank you very much, Arumugam. Sudeep Bhaumik, thank you very much. Bhavik Patil, thank you very much, everyone, for appreciation and asking questions. Definitely, we are very fortunate that all of you found it very relevant in today's context and very useful also in understanding. Now, let us come to question answer part. Vaishali, as I told, we have already overshooted the time. Some questions only will take. What brand strategy benefit? What brand management benefits you foresee for any companies, if any company is going to apply some of these strategies? You have given very good framework. So 4 or 5 strategies. What will the benefit they can get according to you?
Okay, so according to me, what I think, when I discussed about the frame models, strategies, and the pillars, then any brand management or maybe any brand which we need to be, growing, that needs to have a benefits in terms of if it is, if it is helping us in growing a business, one thing. Yeah. That is the benefit which we are proposing it to. Second, how do we kind of, make our customers loyal? How do we cultivate our customers, loyal based customers? So that we need to be looking into. The next is how do we kind of, make awareness about our brand, and how do we put it in the pen's habit of our customers? It's a recognition, or maybe a follow up, or maybe what all resources are you putting, behind, making this brand aware? then the increases the pricing. Okay, so pricing and the value for a money. So if at all you wish to be you wish to be putting this brand in a X growth, X to a Y growth, but then is this a value for a money? So you will look for, okay, increasing the pricing, increasing the proposition or the unique selling propositions for the brand. Then how are we getting the per doctor, how they are loyal to us and how much growth are we getting? So prescription per doctor also becomes important. So those are the benefits which comes into a play when one brand needs to be managed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vaishali. Wonderful deliberation. One more question I'm getting here from YouTube. Generally, it is said the 4 C's: clarity, credibility, consistency, and competitiveness is the most often used marketing communication. How do you see the relevance of these 4 C's in brand strategy? Your opinion about this?
Okay, so what I see, the forces are very, very important in making any kind of a marketing communication. So if suppose, I have a brand which is into a topical formulation. So how am I actually, giving a clarity to a customer in terms of a concept building brand? If I'm, building my brand with the concepts, then how am I proposing that proposition in terms of a technology? If that brand is, a technology based driven brand, then how do you kind of put that technology across to a customers, and how do you develop that concept across to a customer, saying that this brand can be effective and this brand is effective because of this technology in this molecule or in this product. So that's the clarity which you need to be giving it to your customer. Then credibility, how do you kind of make that brand reliable and credible? So if you have launched a new product, and if you see that the brand is reliable, over the period of a time, you take a consistent feedback, you put it across a system in place wherein you are going to generate a feedback and the responses, and that's how you will be able to make your brand credible and reliable in the market. Then consistency is a very, very important. Why it is important? Because if you have put some kind of a brand into market with some X particular communication, and if you're not consistent enough in hammering those same messages consistently to a customer, because see, customer is the one base wherein he or she is exposed to a lot of medical reps or a lot of people in day-to-day basis. So he might forget. So wherein the consistency plays an important role, wherein the consistent message is hammered on a day-to-day basis with the help of scientific trials, with the help of evidence-based inputs, with the help of a campaign. So this can be one of the more important aspects. Then the competitiveness, which is the 4th C. Competitiveness is very, very important look into like, okay, if that the another Volini, suppose I'm just taking an example of a Volini versus other topical gel which the new entrant into market. So how the Volini is playing with the communication, with the advertising, with the digital medium, with the print medium, or maybe with the what communication he is delivering into. So those aspects is very, very important, and for the a clear marketing communication to be developed.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Anju. Your understanding about the marketing strategy is really very, very deep. We can say definitely you are a subject matter expert, like a profession in brand strategy. That is good. One more last question I've got from Facebook. It is said that why, what, and how of the brand manager also directs where and when of the brand message in the marketing strategy. So according to you, a deep understanding about the audience is also very, very important. What is your saying when we say a deep understanding about audience, means what are the aspects of an audience we should understand while making the brand strategy?
Yeah. So, when you wish to make a brand strategy, then obviously this is very, very important, which you have mentioned that, okay, why part of our aspects is important, and why are you, why your brand is growing, why you want to be in this market, why your competition is behaving in this way, why you want to be strategizing or formulating this strategy. Then the what part of it, then what you will do. If you are thinking, if you have answered your question for your particular brand, let's say a brand is in the market of, osteoarthritis, then how do you see that, okay, you have formulated a why part of it. Then you go for a what part of it, like what strategy you will opt for. what objectives you're going to achieve, and what measurable actions you're going to take it. And by doing how. So how part is like, what campaign are you going to, implement to deliver those why, to answer your why and what part of it. So that's how why, what, and how becomes a very, very important in, formulating a marketing strategy, and for an audience to know that where they are congregated, what platforms they want to be leveraging, what they want actually, and why they want it, and how they feel if we are giving this and if we are proposing this into market with these propositions, or maybe this inputs, or maybe a campaign which we will be driving it.
Thank you very much. Once again, thank you very much. Excellent presentation, Vaishali. Just now I got another WhatsApp, YouTube remark. Shivaraman Ambalam, you might be knowing. Excellent presentation, Vaishali. Thoroughly enjoyed. Thank you very much, Shivaraman, for watching and appreciating the session. We are really thankful to you all. And Jonathan Moria said, excellent, ma'am. We also got a very good insight about the aspect of the brand management. Jonathan Moria. Thank you very much, everyone. So we also really enjoyed the session. Ma'am, once again, thank you very much for accepting our invite and being a part of LPC. We look forward to you in our LPC 150 Conclave, Hyderabad. We are very keen, excited, because it is a big landmark we are going to achieve. You will be surprised to know that 2.5 years back, when the lockdown happened, that time we started this LPC, and from that day, not a single week gap, we conducted LPC on Sundays, even on holiday, on Holi, on Republic Day, and Independence Day also. That is what is our commitment level. So we look forward to you in LPC 150 Conclave in Hyderabad. And before closing and handing over to Arpan for closing, I want to know your feedback on LPC, your closing remarks, your take-home message. How did you find our platform, and your feedback on that? Vaishali, ma'am.
Yeah, so thank you so much, first of all, Arpan as well as Yashwantji, for giving me this opportunity, because this means a lot to me. So I'll just take 1 or 2 minutes, because whatever you might have learned or whatever you might have experienced in your past journeys, but you have a lot of, pool of information or a pool of knowledge with you, but you never got a chance or never got an opportunity to speak about it openly, or maybe to give this information to everyone who can, that can be useful for a people. So this is the one platform which I've got through Arpan as well as Yashwantji. So I'm thankful to you too, as well as the LPC, who has given me this opportunity. And this was actually a learning for me as well, to prepare for strategic management, which is my day-to-day routine based topic, but always to put it across and to give a deep dive to all audiences, which has given me a lot of learning in throughout my presentation and throughout interacting with you all even. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much.
And one more thing is, I will always look forward to associate in future also. We all can, make this live pharma coalition bigger and bigger in coming days, with a lot of people coming in and, interacting with them and networking with them, so that we all can share and learn from each other. So yeah,
that is what is our vision, actually, building a learning community. Creating a learning and collaborative community. That is what is our vision and motto. So with that, I hand over to Arpan for closing remarks. Vote of thanks.
Thank you so much. In fact, that's the endeavor of building a collaborative learning community. And LPC has become the Nalanda as far as pharmaceutical industry is concerned. And definitely each and every speaker who have been a part of Life Pharma Coalition have enlightened and enriched the platform with their knowledge and experience. And today's session was also not an exception. One thing I would like to ask you, Vaishali, that we say about strategic management, but for a business owner, for a company owner, how does strategic management impact the profitability and driving results are concerned?
How that? Okay.
How does strategic management basically impact the profitability and driving the results are concerned?
Okay, so what I think, like if the brand, if the he's the owner of a company and he is looking from the perspective of a business, then obviously one model which becomes a one strategy which becomes a very very important is on the basis of a pastel framework, what he has actually kind of delivered in terms of a profit strategies. So profit strategies becomes not only important from the EBITDA delivery, not only it becomes important from the P&L, but also it becomes important from the sales turnover for the profit turnovers for the top line driven base. So these are the important aspects which which owner is always look forward for. Like, okay, if my top line is maintained and top line is driven, if my EBITDA for my brands and EBITDA for my overall company is maintained with the 15 to 20% of a ratio, if my brands are profitable with the good GC maintained. So these all are aspects which I see as a owner which looks into for a profitable business, then into a distribution based also, how that efficient distribution is placed and how that is integrated with digital, and how are we coping up with our stocks on a monthly basis. Then also it becomes important from the financial perspective, like, okay, the financial resources and the systems and the processes are in place in terms of vendor based, or in terms of a lot of aspects which comes into a play for the financial terms. And then obviously the engine is the sales and a marketing. So sales optimizations and the marketing strategies and the campaign, which becomes a pillar for any brand growth, or maybe any campaign which can be driven, or maybe any strategies to be followed for the entire year. So for any owner of the company, which these are the pillars which can be, which are the important ones.
Yes, thank you. In fact, your talks have also been like a pillar because of the wonderful sustainability and the concreteness of it. Because wherever you have pitched in with your thoughts or comments, it has been very elaborative, and that comes with a lot of learning. So thank you so much, Vaishali, for being a part of LPC, that is LPC 149, and enlightening us with your knowledge as well as experience. So one more question to you is that what has been your take home today from your first session at LPC?
So, I feel privileged to be there on this platform. And I feel with this, I can, I can deep dive into myself, and I can have a more and more such kind of a sessions in coming future. So that's what I'm looking forward for. So that's my take home message, that, okay, collaborating with you, I got a lot of learnings as well as out of this topic. I also got to know that, okay, whatever I am doing and how I also have to be looking into the future. So those are the take home messages for myself.
Thank you, Vaishali. That's why I always believe that let us not be a tree which remains stationary. Let us be like a flowing river, which is touching every bank through which it is passing, and it is spreading that knowledge. So LPC is just like a river, and every person who comes on board as a speaker, as a moderator, or a panelist enriches himself or herself with the flowing knowledge of that river. Yashwant sir, what has been your take home from LPC 149?
Although, as I mentioned, being the moderator, we gain a lot and we have become richer and richer from episode 1 to 149. Today's aspect, I have heard of many terms what Vaishali told regarding blue ocean, red ocean, BCG matrix. I've heard of those terms and scorecard, balance scorecard, but I got a deep understanding. Now I can say somehow I understand. Although I was knowing that you are going to summarize, but I was also writing. I was also writing, making notes of those things, because I have made a book, LPC book, and episode wise I write the learning points. So a lot of new terms and understanding about the terms is my net gain. Thoroughly enjoyed. Thank you very much, ma'am. And we look forward to you in future also.
Absolutely. My 2 cents on the wonderful learning that Vaishali has shared. In fact, it was irresistible. You cannot hold yourself back than to write whatever she's telling, because we might have heard about all these terminologies, but the way she has explained it, it was a rekindling of that knowledge once again, because knowledge shared is knowledge squared. So first of all, our acknowledgement to Imagica Health for being such a wonderful support as far as our learning endeavor is concerned. We look forward to your support in our coming weeks. Once again, a request to our audience that 12th of March 2023, we are having our LPC 150 conclave at Hyderabad. So we look forward to your overwhelming support to make this big event very, very successful. Friends, we are still not over with COVID, so please let us maintain the COVID appropriate behavior of SMS, sanitization, mask and social distancing, and along with the compulsory vaccination. We have got one planet, so let us keep our planet clean and green so that we can pass it on to our next generation. And towards the end of LPC, there is a story which I always narrate. So today's story goes like this. There was a little boy who once went to a telephone booth to make a call. So this story goes to those times when we did not have a mobile phone and most of us were restricted towards visiting a telephone booth whenever we wanted to call somebody. So this little boy went to a telephone booth to make a call, and the lady who was the owner of the booth was sitting just beside it and trying to hear what the boy was telling over the telephone. So the boy said that caught the person on the other side of the phone and said that, "Madam, can you give me the job of cutting the grasses in your lawn?" From the other side, the lady said that, "I already have someone appointed to cut the grasses in the lawn." Then the boy said, "Madam, I'll cut the grasses in the lawn at half the price of the person who is currently doing it." Well, the lady said from the other side of the phone that I am very satisfied with the person who is currently doing that job. Then the boy was even more persuasive. He said that, "Madam, I'll even sweep the floor. I will dust the house and do everything for free with half the price that you are giving to the person currently employed." The woman said, "No, thank you." With a smile on the face, the boy came out of the telephone booth, and the shop owner, the lady who was listening to the conversation all along, just told the boy that, "My dear boy, I loved your attitude and the positive spirit. Why don't you work for me? I have got a job opportunity for you." The boy said, "No, thanks." But then the lady said, "Well, you are looking for a job for which you made a telephone." The boy said, "No, no, madam. I was just checking the performance that I was doing with my job. I already have. In fact, I was talking to the lady at whose house I am currently employed." So this is performance appraisal. This is trying to find out how well we are performing. So friends, we should give our best for the world to be right there. Because don't forget that the world has come a long way from customer satisfaction to customer delight. So never relax or become complacent. The whole world is watching us. A famous quote from Bhagavad Gita by Lord Krishna, that if you don't fight for what you want, don't cry for what you lost. So friends, we need to fight every day, because every day is a battle where we need to become a winner. And to be a winner, we need to be armed with the knowledge. So let us not spend our entire time cutting the trees. Let us also spend time in sharpening the axe. And LPC is the platform where we all gather on Sunday, 11 o'clock to sharpen that axe. So thank you so much, friends. This is Arpan Kumar Paul telling goodbye to you with a promise of reconnecting with you once again next Sunday at the same time with a new set of speakers, a new set of thoughts, and a new set of experience sharing. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful Sunday. Goodbye and namaste.
Thank you. Thank you.